Hello there, you're tuned into 7Edition. I'm Aanont and these are your headlines. UPSR exams to continue despite haze enveloping parts of Peninsular Malaysia and Sarawak. Umrah-bound drug syndicate mastermind arrested after cops seized 10.5 million ringgit worth of drugs. Parliament begins a 5-week suspension. We begin tonight's bulletin with this story. 409 schools in Sarawak were ordered to be closed today because of the ongoing haze. However, the Ujian Pencapaian Sekolah Rendah UPSR went on as scheduled. Many of the affected schools were in areas where the Air Pollutant Index API readings were recorded as very unhealthy. This morning, 62 secondary and 347 primary schools in several districts including Kuching, Padawan, Bau, Betong and Sri Aman were ordered closed. A total of 157,479 students are affected by the closure. Previously, the State Education Department had said that schools in areas with API readings above 200 will be closed. However, the UPSR examinations will only be postponed if the API readings exceeds 300. The State Disaster Management Committee said the haze is caused by 426 hotspots in Kalimantan. 12 spots were also detected in Sarawak. Now, the haze from Indonesia continues to grip parts of Peninsular Malaysia, especially in the Klang Valley and southern Sarawak. As of 6 p.m., Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya, as well as 5 states recorded unhealthy API readings. Satellite photos from the ASEAN Specialized Meteorological Centre showed low-level winds from Sumatra covering most of southern parts of Malaysia. All areas in the Klang Valley, as well as some areas in Negeri Sembilan, Melaka, Pahang and Johor recorded unhealthy API readings for most of the day. Over in Sarawak, dust and smoke from Western Kalimantan continues to float across the border to envelop the state. However, the air quality in Sri Aman and Kuching had improved slightly from very unhealthy to unhealthy level by morning. Meanwhile, some 19 plantation companies in Indonesia have been investigated for allegedly causing forest fires and open burning activities. So far, Indonesia has mobilized over 10,000 personnel from the Republic to douse the fires. In a briefing, the Vice Consul of the Indonesian Consulate to Sarawak, Ringgi Perdini, said the manpower consists of corporate employees, firefighters, volunteers and army personnel. 18 helicopters were also used to conduct water bombing in the areas affected by forest fires in Kalimantan. Indonesia also reassured Malaysia that it was serious in tackling the fires while monitoring hotspots through satellite images. IS Selangor will officially become the sole water supplier for Selangor, Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya beginning Friday. In making the announcement today, Selangor Menteri Besar Amiruddin Syari said the successful restructuring means all water concessions have come to an end. According to Amiruddin, IS Selangor has completed the takeover of all private concessionaires, namely Puncak Niaga Sendirian Berhad, Syarikat Bekalan IS Selangor Sendirian Berhad, Consortium ABASS Sendirian Berhad, Consortium IS Selangor Sendirian Berhad, and Syarikat Pengeluar IS Selangor Sendirian Berhad. He also noted that IS Selangor will now be fully responsible for all water treatment and supply for the 3 areas. On the possibility of water tariffs going up, he said Water, Land and Natural Resources Minister Dr. Xavier Jayakumar will be looking into the matter. The Selangor MB added that IS Selangor had spent 1.1 billion ringgit between 2016 and 2018 to upgrade and maintain the various water assets. Last weekend, Jayakumar said Putrajaya might announce new water tariffs by year-end, but assured that the new rates would not burden the people. The government has not discussed or decided on a new scheme to replace the existing pension scheme for civil servants. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who said this today, stressed that there is a need to study the pension scheme from time to time. This as the pension payments had become a huge financial burden to the government.
Last round pay dulu, cuma pegawai tinggi dapat tak lebih daripada 6,000, 7,000. Last round pay jadi 3,000. Dia dapat pension 3,000 sampai sekarang ni. Tetapi orang yang besar sekarang ni, pegawai kerajaan sudah dapat gaji sebanyak ada sampai 20,000. Last round pay is 10,000. Jadi yang besar sekarang ni, pension dia 10,000. Yang besar 20 tahun dulu 2,000, 3,000, situlah. Tapi cost of living dah meningkat.
Recently, Public Service Department Director General Datuk Sri Borhan Dollah was quoted in a report saying that a new pension scheme was expected to be implemented next year, involving new appointments in the public sector. The mechanism, which could reduce the government's financial burden by up to 5 billion ringgit a year, is still being fine-tuned. The contractual scheme, which is being studied, is expected to offer better pay, welfare and protection. The government will likely introduce expansionary measures in the upcoming 2020 budget. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng, in disclosing this today, said the move is necessary to provide some fiscal contingency amidst an uncertain global economic environment, if the trade dispute between China and the United States remains unresolved.
I think we have some capacity to give some fiscal room in the event that the trade dispute remains unresolved. There's a need to prioritize sustainable economic growth. And if necessary, we are willing to adopt expansionary budgetary measures.
The Finance Minister, who spoke to the media after inaugurating Menara Prudential at the Tun Razak Exchange, in the federal capital this morning, added that the government does not foresee any new tax measures in the 2020 budget in its bid to raise the confidence of the corporate sector and investment community. On prioritising sustainable economic growth, Lim said discussions with various parties with regards to getting their input on the matter are still ongoing, and more details will be available during the tabling of the budget on October 11. Negotiations concerning the East Coast Rail Link ECRL projects are over. Transport Minister Anthony Loke Siew Fook, who stressed this, said the focus now should be directed towards ways all states involved can benefit from the project.
We have relooked and reviewed ECRL, as you said. The whole ECRL has been, in terms of the cost, has been cut down, and the commitment is there. The agreement was signed, and I think that whole approach is how to maximize ECRL to the benefits of all the states involved.
He was responding to Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's call for the ECRL project to be reviewed after it was revealed during Datuk Seri Najib Razak's ongoing trial that the ambitious China-backed infrastructure project had been described as a bailout plan for 1MDB. Loke said that he was not fully aware of the comment made by the PKR president, but reiterated that the review of the project had been conducted. This was carried out when Pakatan Harapan took over as government last year, and Loke added that changes have been made to the project. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah today granted an audience to Britain's Prince Edward at Istana Negara. The Earl of Wessex is on a two-day visit to Malaysia, and it was the first meeting for His Royal Highness and a member of the British royal family since Al-Sultan Abdullah was sworn in as the Agong. Prince Edward's itinerary includes attending the Duke of Edinburgh International Awards Asia-Pacific Regional Conference. As Vice Patron of the Commonwealth Games, he would also be meeting Malaysian athletes ahead of the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Among his other agenda in the country includes discussing joint efforts to tackle plastic waste and ocean conservation. Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Aziza Amina Maimuna Iskandaria was also present at the meeting. A man suspected to be the head of a drug syndicate was arrested at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport while he was waiting to board a flight to Mecca to perform his Umrah. The 37-year-old suspect was detained last Thursday following a police operation in Pasir Mas, Kelantan that saw a total seizure of 700,000 amphetamine pills with a street value of 10.5 million ringgit. Kelantan police arrested 3 men and a Malay woman between the ages of 19 to 53 when a Parudua Maivi was searched during the operation. It was believed the syndicate members had just received a shipment of the drugs from a supplier in Thailand. The 48-year-old woman had acted as a money exchanger to launder the ill-gotten gains at Jalan Yacubia, Kota Baru. Police believe the large seizure had managed to cripple the syndicate that was supplying drugs nationwide since last year. In the meantime, the suspects have been remanded for a week. Elsewhere, police investigation into the death of Major Muhammad Zahir Armaya, who was killed in a shooting demonstration in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah on Wednesday, is leading towards negligence as the cause. Authorities said they are still investigating the case, adding that several individuals will be called to facilitate the probe. So far, 11 individuals, including members of the military involved in the fatal mishap at Lok Kawi camp, have been summoned to provide their statements. Major Muhammad Zahir, a 36-year-old commando of the 11th Special Forces Regiment, died last Wednesday after being hit by a live bullet during a launch gimmick at the camp. He was wearing a bulletproof vest and a face mask when he was shot by another soldier. The victim was rushed to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital but succumbed to his injuries. Meanwhile, in Selangor, at least 3.66 million ringgit worth of contraband cigarettes and beer have been seized in a Customs Department operation at Westport. The Customs team scanned a 40-foot container at a warehouse at around 12:30 a.m. on Friday and discovered 4.5 million cigarettes and 1,228 cartons of contraband beer, after content discrepancies were found compared to what was declared. The lorry driver, who had been working on the job for 1 year and 4 months, was remanded for a week. Still in Selangor, firefighters found the skeletal remains of a worker who went missing during a fire which gutted a factory in Sungai Buloh last night. The victim, identified as 32-year-old Tae Chi Yong, was reported missing at 2:22 a.m. today, and his body was found among rubble about 6 hours later. The skeletal remains were later sent to Sungai Buloh Hospital for further action, and the exact cause of the fire and the amount of damage are still being investigated. Let's take a short break, but when we return, driver films road emergency, ignores danger ahead. Details next. And now on to the latest updates on Brexit. The 5-week suspension of Parliament has begun after lawmakers rejected Boris Johnson's efforts to force a snap general election for the second time. In all, 293 MPs voted for the Prime Minister's motion for an early poll, far short of the number needed. Now, the Prime Minister says the government would use the time Parliament was suspended to press on with negotiating a deal with the EU while preparing to leave without one. In Parliament on Tuesday, Johnson said he would not delay Brexit any further.
I will go to Brussels, our government will go to Brussels on October the 17th and negotiate our departure on the 31st of October. Hopefully with a deal, Mr. Speaker, but without one if necessary. I will not ask for another delay.
In his response to the Prime Minister's speech calling for an early election, Jeremy Corbyn said his Labour Party wants an election, but not if it involves risking a no-deal Brexit.
We're eager for an election. But as keen as we are not prepared to risk inflicting the disaster of no deal on us, our communities, our jobs, our services, or indeed our rights.
At present, UK law states that the country will leave the EU on October 31st, regardless of whether a withdrawal deal has been agreed with Brussels or not. But new legislation, which was granted royal assent on Monday, changes that and will force the PM to seek a delay to January 31st next year, unless a deal or a no-deal exit is approved by MPs by October 19th. Now, MPs backed calls by 311 votes to 302 for the publication of government communications relating to the suspension of Parliament and no-deal Brexit plans. Parliament was officially suspended just before 2 a.m. local time on Tuesday and will reopen on October 14th. A group of opposition MPs protested against the prorogation ceremony, appearing to try to block Speaker John Bercow amid raucous scenes in the House of Commons. Labour backbenchers held up signs reading "silenced" and shouted "Shame on you." Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam said on Tuesday she deeply regrets foreign interference in the financial hub's matters and that an escalation of violence cannot solve social issues in the Chinese-ruled city.
But to interfere into Hong Kong's internal affairs in terms of what we are doing under the basic law, protection of freedoms and liberties, this is totally unnecessary. Because we ourselves have the obligation and the duty to comply with provisions in the basic law.
General, it's imperative for Mr. Barr to make the full...
U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer pushed for a bipartisan bill that would require an annual justification of the special treatment afforded by Washington to Hong Kong, including special trade and business privileges under the U.S.-Hong Kong Policy Act of 1992. The legislation, called the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, would also mandate that officials in China and Hong Kong who have undermined the city's autonomy are vulnerable to sanctions. Addressing the violence over the weekend, Lam said the withdrawal of the extradition bill and other measures were announced to start a dialogue with the Hong Kong people. Now let's head on over to Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making the rounds in the cyber world today. Microsleeps are short bursts of sleep, and it can happen to anyone at any time, including to a person who's behind the wheel. So it's always good to be in a fresh state when you're planning to go long distance, so you don't fall victim to microsleeping, especially when you're traveling alone. However, in a recent incident, a driver was fortunate enough to catch another driver falling to sleep while behind the wheel, but the said onlooker failed to help the situation on purpose, and that led further to an accident. And surely, netizens were outraged. Well, here's the story. The video, taken 2 years ago, recently began recirculating on Twitter again, highlighting the dangers of it. The 45-second video was uploaded at 10 p.m. on September 7th and garnered almost 13,600 retweets. The video starts off with a white car moving between lanes without signals and was recorded by a driver from behind. At around the 30-second mark, the white car hits the lorry in front and caused an accident that essentially blocked the whole highway. When the video was uploaded, netizens were outraged because the driver who was recording the incident did not seem to honk to wake up the driver in the white car. This incident also serves as a reminder to drive carefully as to not endanger yourselves. And road users, if you see someone that you think might be microsleeping behind the wheel, then you should definitely honk them. We'll take a short breather, and when we come back, Jack Ma ends a 20-year reign over Alibaba. Stay with us for more. Thanks for staying with us. Alibaba chairman Jack Ma is due to step down from the e-commerce giant on Tuesday, marking the end of an era for the firm. He co-founded Alibaba in 1999 and it has become one of the world's biggest internet firms. Ma's success and colorful style made him one of China's most recognizable businessmen. According to Forbes, the company is now valued at $480 billion, and Ma is China's richest man with a net worth of $38.6 billion. He is also the first founder among a generation of prominent Chinese internet entrepreneurs to step down from his company. The 55-year-old is expected to focus on philanthropy and education after he steps down. Daniel Zhang, currently Alibaba's chief executive, will replace Ma as executive chairman. Chinese telecom giant Huawei has recently unveiled its own self-developed operating system, the Harmony OS. The lightweight, fast and compact operating system with dynamic functionality could help power smart experiences across various devices. Huawei's next-generation operating system aims to bring harmony and convenience to the world of technology around us. The highly anticipated software is considered to be future-oriented and will focus on delivering seamless connectivity with artificial intelligence, AI.
On the Harmony OSI, as I mentioned about it, is totally new things. It is for the future multi-device situation. So that is also can enable everyone, have a seamless AI life in the future. The consumer will feel very seamless experience feeling, fast, smooth, at the same time very secure. And the most important part, you find that all the devices in around him or her will be seamless connected in terms of experience.
The first version of the operating system will be launched in Huawei's smart screen products, where content is connected through a NFC handshake or Wi-Fi direct link. With a team of over 5,000 experts, the world leader in 5G equipment will continue to develop Harmony OS across a range of smart devices, including wearable technology. iPhone sales might drop if Apple fails to introduce a 5G variant. According to IDC analysts, the rest of 2019 could be challenging for Apple should the company decide not to release a 5G model. This comes as Apple is about to unveil its next-generation iPhone, the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, 11R, and 11 Max later tonight in California. IDC believes iPhone shipments are expected to fall by 15% to 177.9 million this year and believes Android's market share will grow from 85 to 87% this year due to a push from the new devices. Apple has had a checkered time with developing a 5G iPhone but fell out with Qualcomm, who used to supply iPhone modems. The pair ended up in a long legal dispute, so Apple turned to Intel to supply 4G modems and worked with it on the development of the modem. But Intel could not produce a 5G modem that was good enough. Apple later bought Intel's mobile modem business, so it seems set that it will use the Intel acquisition to develop its own 5G modems, just like Samsung and Huawei do. Bursa Malaysia closed in negative territory today, dragged down mainly by the sharp fall of Axiata and Digi shares, following the termination of the proposed Axiata-Telenor mega merger. At the close, the benchmark FBM KLCI was 8.62 points weaker at 1,595.85. Now on to stocks to watch. Bumi Armada Berhad's operating condition is expected to continue improving, with its ongoing cost optimization initiatives bearing fruit. The firm also has clear earnings visibility backed by its order book of 18.9 billion ringgit and optional extensions of up to 9.9 billion ringgit. An analyst said the market was trading below the psychological level of 1,600, undermined by foreign selling. Despite its terminated merger with Telenor, Axiata Group Berhad continues to see improved profitability and cost optimization through its ongoing strategic initiatives. The firm delivered a healthy uptick in the first half of 2019 core earnings, with its management confident of achieving better financial results for the whole year. Leonghap International Berhad is in for a better second half performance on the back of improved local market prices for newly hatched baby chick and broiler. The company's positive long-term outlook remains also intact, backed by stable demand for chicken and growing revenue from its overseas markets.